Let's look at the customer journey. Number one is we have strategies and concepts within marketing and sales that have to do with before. Please write that down. Before the customer walks in the door. So we have customers that are, we have strategies that have a lot to do with the before the customer walks in the door. What I mean by that, Ryan, or what I mean by that? Well, first of all, I want you to write down the following phrase. The first phrase I want you to write down is, when it comes to customer acquisition or your customers, I know that many of you are going to be like, yeah, of course that makes sense, Ryan. But from this concept, I'm going to give you some little golden nuggets. Source matters. Source matters. That means where you get the customer from matters. There's been a real shift. And then I'll talk about H next, and I love H. But source matters, and you'd be like, yeah, of course it matters, right? So we know not all patients are created equal, or not all motivation levels for your service are created equal. But I would say this: all unsuccessful chiropractors say the following sentence. They talk a lot about tire kickers. They talk a lot about the client being, it's the client's fault, and versions of that. Source matters, but I also want you to remember this. I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've seen a shift. Remember, 10 years ago, getting new patients from Facebook wasn't a thing. So I was involved in an interview last week with President of Life University. He asked to interview me, Rieder. And we were speaking about how basically there's nothing new. You guys understand, we get to stand on the shoulder of giants. And I've always joked, and I've said, there's only one thing within like the strategies that I teach you that I invented, right? Everything else, I learned. I didn't come out the womb knowing it. I learned it and made it better and practiced it like hell, right? And got damn good at it. 10,000 new patients a year for many years across multiple practices. I really have earned my time. And guy said, oh, what did you invent? I said, I invented in-house screening. So when coronavirus hit, we couldn't go do screenings anymore. And I said to my marketing guy, well, why don't we just use advertising strategies to get them to come to the practice for screening? And lo and behold, they work. Many of you on this call, well, it's like the gift that keeps on giving, right? People regularly get 50 new patients in a day with the strategy, right? And one of the strategies, stay on board and join my mastermind as a guest. At the end, I'll tell you how to do that. But I was telling the story, and I told him, like, we drive Facebook traffic and we get people to come to screenings. And he's like, oh, we were doing that 25 years ago. And I was like, bullshit, you're doing that 25 years ago. This wasn't even Facebook 25 years ago. And he said, oh, really? He's like, yes, we were. We just called those orientation days. I was like, tell me more. So the media changed, but the strategy was the same. So he described it to me, and he's like, we used to advertise in newspapers, etc., and we used to put the jumping castle up, and we used to have and we say, bring your kids, we're going to feed your kids, and there used to be a band, and there used to be a freaking donkey ride or a pony ride, and 100 people would show up in the small town, and then there used to be a tour, and the tour ended with a screening, right? Or a voucher sold, and they used to get 50 new patients in a day, or more, 100 in a day. And I was like, actually, shit, you were doing it 25 years ago. The media just changed. And why am I telling this? Because he also went on to say, look, I did an interview series many years ago, probably 3 years ago, and almost every great chiropractor told me that the single best source of new patients they've ever had in their life, across their career, 25-year career, some of them more, was some version of a live event or talk. And he said, because we're talking about it, and with those things, high quality of customer. And he said, both my daughters are chiropractors, and both of them don't do talks, and I wonder why. So here's what's happened in the marketplace. As the acquisition of customers has become easier, you can reach them easier, there's a direct correlation with ease of reaching customer and decreased quality or decrease motivation for your service at that time. Let me say that again. There's a direct correlation with the ease at which it is to say yes to your service and the motivation of the customer. Hence, the reason why, when we talk about source, you may not like it and it's expensive, but a new customer that comes from a newspaper ad will still be your highest quality. Why? The barriers to entry are hard. People do still use newspapers, but can they just click on a newspaper ad? No. Can they click on a newspaper ad and it auto-populates? No. Can they do any of that stuff? No. They have to pick up the phone and they have to phone. I mean, who the hell does that these days? And they have to get to page 17 of the newspaper to even do that. So for them to opt in that, lower quantity, higher quality. Let me give you another example. I'm absolutely certain of this. The harder it is to acquire the customer, the higher the quality. Source matters. So you can't have your cake and eat it. The easier it is to get the customer, the lower the quality or motivation of the customer, because they don't have, I'll talk about H in a moment, but it's easier for them to get to. Another example of that is, I said to Guy, do you know why people don't do talks anymore? Because they can sit in their underwear at home and push a button and get new customers. I do it all the time. They can. So that becomes the crutch. You see, in the old days, you didn't have a choice. You had to traipse across town with the flip chart in arm or PowerPoint or whatever, and then you had to ring the doorbell at the business and go, hi, I'm expected for a talk. No, it's not the chiropodist, it's the chiropractor. And you drop the papers and the thing, and it takes you 3 hours by the time you've driven across town, etc. for 20 people in the room, and you get 5, but boy, those 5 are high quality, because they sat for an hour with you in a talk, then they had to jump through another hoop, and then they had to say yes. So they had multiple entry points. It was difficult for them to become accustomed with you actually. They had to come to the table, they had to pay money on the day, they had to go through all the psychology of, is this the right thing? Is this a scam? Is this a thing? Is this a charlatan? All those type of things, and they still said yes. Whereas on Facebook, they just take a thing. Now, I am not saying Facebook bad thing. It's changed my life, by the way. It changed my practice's life, changed many of you on this call's lives. It's both, but you don't get to have your cake and eat it. That means don't forget about the old school stuff. So source matters. And here's the other thing, is there's a massive endorphin rush that happens with, for example, an Instagram or Facebook ad or whatever, where you can get 30 leads. So what happens is the newspaper ad, for example, you get 3 new customers and you get 30 leads, not customers, 30 leads. The Facebook ad, which one's better? Well, obviously the 30. Well, is it? Because there's one factor that we don't look at, and I learned this the hard way, is when we did a statistical analysis of over £10 million worth of revenue, and I wanted to look at the highest quality of introduction, source. What source spent the most? I will never forget mouth or jaw hitting the table when I saw that it was this one little newspaper that I still kept on doing, and cut it few months or maybe even to a year before I saw this research. Why? Because Facebook example was getting us, like, let's say $5 a lead or $4 a lead or whatever, but the newspaper was like $400 a lead. So obviously, or new patient, and I was like, cut it, it's too expensive. Do you know what I didn't know? I didn't know that the same newspaper ads spent at least 10 times more than the Facebook ads. 10 times. Now, horses for courses. If you do not sell a care plan or an upfront payment option, you're going to struggle with that source of introduction. Why? Because you get too long to recoup your initial investment. So if you only get 3 new patients and it's $400 a lead, but you from those customers you're converting close to 100% because it's such a high quality of customer, and let's say your care plan's $2,000, you might make $6,000 and you spend 4, 8, 12, 1,200. Good return on investment. However, if you pay per visit, it may take you too long to recoup the 1,200 if you do that regularly, and then you'll have a cash flow issue. So source matters. Number two is, the other thing that matters is hoops. Hoops matter. So how do you increase PVA? Well, source matters. Next. Okay, horses for courses 2 with source. But sometimes you need deal flow, lots of new patients, because you haven't got any new patients. But when you start getting lots of new patients, then you start going, I need to be more picky with source, not the customer. It's not their fault, it's your fault, right? It also matter. So PVA will increase if the source, you're specific about the source. And the next thing is, if you purposely make people jump through hoops before doing business with you, conversions increase, PVA increases. What's a hoop? A hoop is this. Hey, be careful of the strategy, but some people use it very successfully. if you have enough deal flow, is, hey, before initial consultation, everyone's required to go through a pre-care class. Okay, well, some people are not going to like it and you're going to lose some customers, but if you're good at generating leads, you can afford to use some. But I will tell you this, if they sat through an hour talk or orientation class, or if they had to go through some of my practices are introducing a pre-consult telephone call that has to be done for them to do it. The more hoops they jump through prior to the sale or asking for the sale, the higher the chances of conversion and therefore higher chance of PVA. So hoops may be that they're required, one hoop by the way is that they're required to come to a 2-day process. Those of you on this call right now, that's a hoop. Those of you that are adjusting on the first visit, you are decreasing the amount of hoops they have to jump through. Therefore, you will find that your PVA will be decreased. I can tell if you're adjusting on the first visit and I can just look at your PVA. If you're a physiotherapist on this call or another professional on this call, within the chiropractic profession, it's relatively commonplace to have a 2-day selling environment. Day 1, we do examination. Day 2, and no adjustment. Day 2, we give them the results. Now, I've got a whole course on this. It's called Conversion Alchemy, and I'll tell you the psychology behind this. But you can do some research on this. The type of sale we're involved in is a diagnostic and prescriptive sale, right? I mean, if you're well in the space and you're subluxation based, you're still involved in a diagnostic and prescriptive sale. And those of you say, I don't diagnose. Really, you don't look at an x-ray and say, there's your problem. It's called a subluxation. You do. You may not diagnose a disease process, but the selling process is a diagnostic and a prescriptive process. There's your problem, here's the solution, right? So that's a hoop. I don't adjust you on day 1, and you have to come back for a second consultation, etc. Now, the only caveat to that is time with increases conversions. Time with, as in talks, consuming your content, having seen you many times before putting yourself in before actually asking for the sale. Time between decreases sales. For time between day 1 and day 2, time between telephone call and booking, that decreases sales, right? Cool. Are you guys with me so far? Give me a hand up. Vanessa, are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. Audrey, Katie, good job. Alex, Ian, Juliet. Hey, Juliet. Nikos, yeah, Zander, cool. So far, there are processes that you can do prior to the initial consultation that massively increases. Now, I haven't even made notes on these yet, but I'm going to fill them in. What else massively increases PVA or conversions prior to a customer coming in? Well, it's celebrity endorsements. By the way, listen, you can all stop watching this right now. If you've been on the Oprah show, Vanessa, I know you like this joke. If you've been on Oprah, you can just stop watching the video right now. You don't need any of my tips. You're good. Your PVA is going to be through the roof. Your conversion is going to be through the roof. That matters. Traditional media matters even more than social media if you can get on it. If you can be on TV and if you can be on radio, it matters. It has a massive effect on PVA, a massive effect on conversions. If they consume that content and find you through those medium on radio prior to the selling environment, those things matter. Do you know what else matters? Is demonstration of social proof prior to the selling environment. Right? Another few points here, but I haven't got time to write them all now because I've only got 25 minutes left. I'll just teach two more points. Demonstration prior to the selling environment. What does that mean? Well, when they walk into your practice, do they see pictures of you with the All Blacks, the NBA team, the basketball team, the football team? Do they see you with, celebrities? And do they see you with 47 testimonials that are on the wall of all these amazing people got amazing results? That matters. Choreography matters. So far, have I given you a few cool little tips prior to the initial consultation that can help you convert more people and increase PVA? Give me a little, by the way, we'll put your damn hands up because those little tips will absolutely help you. So demonstration prior makes a huge difference. Hey docs, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you found it helpful. And if you haven't yet checked out one of my free books, New Patient Avalanche, how to get a ton of new patients in your practice, or Practice Growth Speaking Secrets, how to do lunch and learns and corporate talks, and how to get people to come to you for informational talks, click on the link below, grab a book. They're absolutely free. All you do is pay for shipping. I think it's $7.95 or something. And you get all the templates and everything you need and cool bonuses within them to fulfill those things like downloads, etc. Click on the link below, grab one of those books, and I hope it's helpful. See you soon.